Hello Internet, I'm the Disney Brain and welcome to the Andi Mack Review. Music has existed for countless centuries, and in all of that extensive history, only one song can properly represent my reaction to this week's episode. In case that 90s throwback was a little too subtle, yes, after 2 straight weeks of meh, the Mack is back in full force delivering a flawless episode. So let's not waste any time and jump right into Home Away from Home. We kick things off with Andi and Bex struggling within their new home. Last week, I critiqued this show for how it abruptly rushed through the renting process, but what this show does understand exceptionally well is how hard living in a rented place can be. Power outages, messy rooms, cold food, the works. They spared no expense and portrayed their situation exactly right. I mean, heck, all they were really missing was a rat or two for good measure. That's the entire intro prior to the opening credits, and it works so well on so many levels. But we'll get back to the main plot after we take a look at the side plot this time around. And boy, what a side plot it was. So, due to some complications with Iris, Cyrus believes things are over with her, so he asks Buffy to fill in for her as a replacement to hang out with Jonah and Amber. But, as fate would have it, neither Amber nor Iris are in this week's episode, which means Buffy isn't needed for the sports outing anymore, and we all know what that adds up to. I mean seriously, now this show is just teasing those among you begging for a Jonah-Cyrus pairing down the line. But then his magical evening gets derailed a bit when Jonah isn't also wearing his team jacket, which honestly would have been a bit tacky even if they were official. At this point, they're just biding their time with Cyrus. It's getting harder and harder to imagine a storyline that doesn't involve these two, or at least Cyrus, figuring things out in terms of their sexuality. And what a glorious day it will be when Disney Channel at long last delivers us a best friend character who doesn't have to end up falling for the lead female character. This network specializes in that, and now's the time to finally change up that all too common trend. So, getting back to the main plot, Cece is feeling a bit broken up about the fact that Andi and Bex are no longer under her roof, with Ham being the sturdy and sensible middle-leaning presence he usually is. The pair eventually return home to collect some art supplies, and that scene of the cold lasagna is just too perfect. Cece and Ham both want the pair back home, but Bex doesn't want to give in, making the active choice to leave again. And context clues inform us that this parallels Bex's original departure from 13 years ago. And then, we kind of get the Bex-Cece moment I was hoping for last week. And it's a very important scene, because it gives weight to the seemingly impulsive decision made by Bex to move out. She doesn't just want her own place, she wants to finally become a real adult. And everything about Andi lying to Bex, and Bex wanting to give her back to Cece, is proof that Bex is evolving right in front of us. She's just about done being the sort of mom that's more like a fun aunt if anything. She's making mature decisions, really thinking about what's best for Andi and herself. Bex is leaps and bounds from where episode 1 started her, and it's a pleasure to see her develop in this way. Also, when I reviewed episode 1, I mentioned how Bex could end up as the most important character, despite not being the lead. This episode is basically the reason I thought that all the way back then. And then, just when the episode has made its point and firmly delivered one of the best episodes of the show, Andi moves back in and finally calls Bex Mom. Another perfect moment because of how much that title means to Bex, and because it'll keep Bex on the right track as both a mother and as an adult. And that's Home Away from Home, an episode I called flawless at the top of the review, and after having now fully reviewed it, I stand by that statement. It delivered on every single detail, while also paying close attention to the characters and the bigger picture still forming around them. It was focused, it was affecting, it was beautiful. We could talk about the potential significance of Cyrus referring to Jonah as his first guy friend, but Bex was the anchor for almost everything in this episode, and I don't know how many times I've been able to say that. She's had great moments in the past, of course, but this time around, it was really all about her. She had to start proving to herself and those around her that she was ready to grow, ready to mature. Moving out wasn't just another spur-of-the-moment Bex stunt. She needed to do this, and by firmly standing on her own 2 feet, becoming the mother Andi deserves, and being the daughter Cece can respect, the long-awaited I'm proud of you cannot be far off. And it'll be exciting to see if the show can remember to keep Bex growing now that she's reached such a pivotal milestone. This shouldn't be the end, but a new beginning. All in all, Home Away from Home is the best episode of Andi Mack to date. And just like how the best episode of Girl Meets World followed the worst episode of Girl Meets World, the 10th episode of this series comes off the heels of arguably the worst so far. I honestly can't think of a single thing this episode gets wrong. And yeah, sure, they could have added this or maybe given more depth to that, but I wouldn't count any of that against it necessarily in a 24-minute time window. This episode shows exactly what Andi Mack can do when the minds behind it swing for the fences, because when they do, they oftentimes score. So, what I'm saying, if I'm saying anything, is that episode 10 of Andi Mack premiered the other day. A lot of people will say it was pretty good or even great, all fair positions, but to me, it was perfect. Andi Mack now begins a brand new good episode streak. Let's hope this one lasts at least as long as the first. But until then, thanks for watching.